Today we're driving the all-new 2026 Nissan Leaf. This is a completely redesigned EV, and it finally features a ground-up EV platform for the Leaf, not just a converted internal combustion engine platform to accommodate an electric vehicle. So this is all new. We've got some parts and bits from the Nissan Ariya. We have a very nice looking interior and exterior. This now has a 75 kilowatt hour battery pack, which means the S Plus trim can go 303 miles on a full charge. Today we're in a Platinum Plus. This is rated for 259 miles on a full charge, even though on the readout it says 279 miles at 94%. We're on the 19-inch wheels. That's probably the biggest range hit with this top trim, that and some of the extra feature content. We've got a lot to talk about with this new Leaf just because there's so much new here. You have this electrically controlled roof shade, which is super cool. Kind of difficult to see today because of the foggy weather, but you can see there's a leaf right here, and it's backwards because the idea is that the sun is supposed to shine through and reflect onto the seats and actually show a leaf on the seats, which is kind of cool. You can close half of it, you can close all of it, and then you can just open it all up there, which is very neat. It's similar to electrochromic roof tech, but slightly different. It has these elements inside that in their natural state, the light is diffused and all the elements are blocking the light, and then in their charged state, they all straighten out, and that's what lets the light through. Cool stuff, something fun to play with. Nissan has done a really nice job with this new interior. They haven't gone and ruined it by putting everything in the screens. You have lots of redundant physical controls for your heated steering wheel, your ProPILOT Assist steering assist, your head-up display in this Platinum Plus trim. We've got some nice storage solutions, some cubbies. Down here, wireless charging. Nissan's excellent zero-gravity seats, which are very comfortable, very supple with this vegan synthetic material, and just kind of an updated look. Let's show you what the outside of this looks like as well. This is painted in a very nice burgundy color. These are the 19-inch wheels, kind of reminiscent of a microchip in their design, kind of a funky look. And then in the back, you have these 3D taillights, which are just kind of an optical illusion. It's a flat surface, but it's projected to look like it's a 3D thing. I think it was inspired by some video game in Japan, and it's a cool effect. I learned today that in Japanese, ni means two and san means three. So there's all these 2-3 design elements in this Nissan Leaf. You'll see that in a few different places. Single motor, front wheel drive only. This is rated at 214 horsepower, 261 pound-feet of torque. We also have an interesting charge port situation. There are 2 charge ports, one on each side. The driver's side is AC, the passenger side is DC, AC-DC, easy to remember. This is meant to be your kind of short-term, around town at home charging solution. So this is your J1772. And then on the other side, we have the Tesla NACS port. So this not only is easier to access for Tesla charge stations, you just pull in, plug it in, but it eliminates the need for an adapter. And again, this is DC fast charging. Nice to have those 2 options as we're still in this weird transitional phase with adapters and connectors and infrastructure. Starting price on the Nissan Leaf is under 30 grand, not including the $1,500 destination charge. And that's actually less expensive than the first generation Nissan Leaf's MSRP when it was launched in 2011. I believe that was like around $32,500. This is $29,900. So the Nissan Leaf, calculated for inflation, has gotten less expensive over the years, which is kind of cool. This Platinum Plus that we're driving today, as tested, is $41,930. And these are prices calculated after the elimination of the EV tax credits. So these are the prices that we're going to be seeing here going forward. By the time this video goes live, those tax credits will probably have expired. So that's all calculated for going forward into the foreseeable future. These will be available in dealer lots starting in fall of this year, 2025. While I've been talking, we've been walking you guys around this Leaf. You're kind of getting an idea for the way it looks, the design. I will say, when I first saw this in photos, proportions were a little bit odd and a little bit awkward, but in person, and honestly my camera isn't doing a very good job because of the distortion, this is a little bit better looking of a vehicle than I was expecting. The proportions front to rear look about right. It's still a smaller vehicle on the road. It's a little bit shorter. It's slightly wider than the previous generation Nissan Leaf. It's got a little bit of ground clearance. There's a nice amount of space in the trunk. This has the power lift gate. You've got a lower storage space down here. And here is your AC 120 volt, 1500 watt outlet. Oh yeah, and this can also do vehicle to load power. So you can basically power your house or power a bunch of items while camping or tailgating. So with a Platinum Plus, you have 2 outlets, one in the rear seat and one in the trunk, where you can vehicle to load items in the back, or you can use an adapter in your AC outlet right here that plugs in and it can power everything else. I think it'll max out at 3.45 kilowatts, which is a lot of juice and could probably power the average home, if not a little bit extra. So kind of neat if there's a power outage or an emergency and you need to power your refrigerator or, you know, just your whole house if you have the proper connections with your fuse box. I don't tend to talk too much about design in my videos, but I guess we'll just kind of walk you around some of the new features. We've got this new front end with Nissan's new design language. The wheels, again, kind of like a microchip. Nissan likes to mention this katana blade style element in the back. And then these taillights, which are really kind of cool, a little bit reminiscent of the old 300ZX, I guess. I don't know. In this color, I think this just kind of looks right. I like the trimming. I like the accents. I like the materials inside and out. This is just a neat surface here. I think it's a neat looking little crossover slash EV. The other thing with the design is you'll notice that it looks a little bit more aerodynamic, and it is. There's only a 0.26 drag coefficient with this new Leaf versus the old I think it was 0.3 or 0.29. It's a significant improvement. Nissan's goal with this new Leaf was to keep battery size on the smaller side and efficiency on the higher side. And I like that dedication to efficiency in a new EV, not just throwing a massive battery pack in this, a $50,000 price tag, and saying, oh, it's got 300 miles of range. Nissan's actually done some work here to make this a more efficient vehicle, cutting through the air. They've reworked their thermal management system with the HVAC, the powertrain, etc., to just kind of be one integrated unit so that it can feed off of itself and just be a more efficient package. On first impressions, some pretty impressive stuff here with the new Nissan Leaf. Let's walk you around it just a little bit more. We'll check out the back seats, see what interior room is like. This is my driving position at 5'10", seated behind myself. Got a decent amount of room back here. Legs are a little bit tight with my backrest, and I don't have a ton of underfloor space for my feet, but still, it's not bad. I have a little bit of headroom, a couple inches above my head, and the seat design, these interior colors are kind of neat. I like the cloth on the side of the top of the door panels here, and everything kind of has a bit of an iridescent glow to it. There's your panoramic sunroof. Again, Nissan's stadium style seating in the rear seats. You can see a little bit over that driver's seat, which is nice. Ingress and egress is easy. Good roof height there to get in and out. Let's see what's in the front here. Just a motor, no front trunk. I think that's okay. Honestly, there's plenty of storage in the back. All right, let's hop in the driver's seat. Enough walking you guys around a parking lot. Oh, you also get these door handles that mount flush once the car is going or it's locked. However, I like when they're popped out, they're so easy to grab and they just feel like a normal door handle instead of something weird like we've seen with some of the other blade handles, etc. All right, so interior-wise, this is all very intuitive and easy to use. Some stuff that we've seen in the Nissan Ariya. You've got quick access buttons for your forward-facing camera, your 360 camera, drive mode selector right here. So you have 4 different drive mode settings: standard, sport, personal, which is customizable, and eco. And you can, personal mode, you can change between throttle response, regen levels. You have this E-step, which maximizes regen, though it's still not one-pedal driving. The only strange thing about it is that it does move the brake pedal to bring you down from speed. So that can be a little bit unnerving, especially if you're a first-time EV buyer. If the brake pedal is moving on its own, that's kind of strange, but you can turn that off. That's not something you have to leave on all the time. If you want a little bit less regenerative braking off throttle, you can use the paddle shifters, and then you have one of 3 different settings here. So either no regen light, regen, second mode, third mode. Let's talk infotainment. We have Google built in. Google Maps is your native navigation system, and that integrates with the vehicle's state of charge to estimate range, charge percentage on arrival, routes, planning, stuff like that, charge stations on road trips. It's really a nice integration, and it should work pretty well taking this vehicle around on longer trips or just to and from work or however you're going to be using it. This new Leaf has a 10 to 80% fast charge rate of about 35 minutes, which is pretty decent for a vehicle in this class. And here you can set climate schedule, charging schedules. There's a lot of customizability here, a lot of settings that you can turn on and off, track your energy usage. I think you can probably see nearby charging stations as well. Yes, that'll take you into Google Maps and show you everything that's nearby. Very neat. And it's great that you can use one of the 20,000 Tesla chargers in this with that NACS board. You've got a full climate menu here, even though there are buttons, or at least haptic icons down here for your fan speed, your temperature, your heated seats, your heated steering wheel. I like all that redundancy and that Nissan doesn't force you to use everything through the screen. There's actual physical constant buttons here that you can touch with your fingers. Thank you, Nissan, for keeping that rolling. You even get rear seat climate controls, or at least heated rear seats in this Platinum Plus, which is all very nice. Lots of audio controls, lots of native applications in this Nissan Leaf. Again, you can kind of get an idea for this infotainment system. There's Google Assistant. It seems to be pretty nicely designed, pretty attractively laid out, and easy to use. Center display here. We also get wireless Apple CarPlay. It's responsive, it's quick, it just works, which is great. We have the center display for all of your driver gauges and information. This isn't really too different from anything else we've seen in Nissans recently. It's just a little bit larger, a little bit more modern looking. You've got controls in here for driving assistance settings, lots of other vehicle settings, lots of customizability in these new Nissan products, and that is really nice. We even get a nice high-res digital head-up display there, which shows us lots of information once we start ProPILOT Assist and all that. Parking brake is over here. We've got 2-seat memory settings. Windows are not auto up-down except for the driver. And let's see here, what else? Good visibility, nice big mirrors. I kind of just want to sit in this parking lot and play with this roof, but hopefully you guys can kind of see it. There it is, there's that Leaf lettering. And this has a bit of an efficiency purpose too, in that it does reduce the load on the HVAC system on bright sunny days and keeps the cabin a little bit cooler. So nice of them to include that. And a lot of these that we've been driving recently have had constant panoramic roofs that just let a bunch of light in and keep the cabin nice and hot. There's no way to close that. This just seems like a very nice solution, especially in a car for this price point. Cool tech and good integration. All right, let's put us into reverse, see what the reverse camera looks like. Mirrors are gonna fold around and change direction so we can see our blind spots a little bit easier. Steering is light. Get this push button shifter right down here. It's very easy to access and reach. The 2-spoke steering wheel feels nice in hand. No gloss black all around here except for just on the steering wheel. Brake pedal feels natural, easy to modulate, progressive. Ride is comfortable too.
Fog reported ahead.
Brake pedal is actually a big improvement from the previous Nissan Leaf, which used to just bounce. It felt like the brake pedal was a spring. This feels like just a normal brake pedal. Thank you, Nissan, for fixing that. All right, we'll put this into sport mode and show you how it gets up to speed. Not a bad 0 to 60. For only 214 horsepower, you get all that power at once. It's electric. It's reasonably quick. Steering feels nice and sharp. Pretty skinny tires on this in the name of efficiency, but it still puts down good lateral grip. Suspension feels nicely controlled. and they're 77 miles an hour. Very nice. We'll go back into standard drive mode, and we'll kick this down to 70 miles an hour. ProPILOT Assist engages on the highway. You can turn that on or off right here with your steering assist. Nice to have a physical button for that instead of going through a few menus. Appreciate that. Thank you, Nissan. And you really only need to just rest your hand on the steering wheel. It seems like it's a haptic system that senses your hand on the wheel instead of being something that requires a little bit of force or load on the wheel. So you can just cruise on the highway. I was in some heavy traffic earlier with a lot of stop and go, and it seemed to do a really nice job maintaining a good following distance, braking smoothly, accelerating smoothly. This ProPILOT Assist does seem to work well, at least on first impressions living with it so far today. It's a little bit more road noise from vehicles around you in this Nissan Leaf. Not a ton of wind noise, but probably representative of other vehicles in the class too. Again, I think ultimately this new Nissan Leaf is probably a little bit more comfortable and luxurious and better equipped than some other vehicles in its same EV class, but it still has a little bit of noise on the highway, at least at 70 miles an hour. You can easily change your following distance right down here. Highway acceleration is quite good, and you can turn everything off with one press of a button right there on the steering wheel. I'm always a little bit skeptical when a manufacturer comes out with a new product, especially in 2025, 2026. I'm worried that they might be sacrificing ease of use for design or screenification or tech. That's not the case here. Nissan has done a really nice balance of making this feel like a modern, high-tech, attractively designed interior, but it's also very functional and easy to operate, which I am so happy that they've stuck with that philosophy, because they've always done a really nice job with that through all these changes from manufacturers over the last decade or so. A little bit of front wheel peel there. Let's test out E-Step. So this is a button. You just press it and it maximizes regen. You'll see this little E-Step icon there on the dashboard. It gives you a pretty good level of regen. You can see the brake lights come on for this, but again, it won't bring you down to a complete stop. It'll bleed off around 5 miles an hour or so. You can turn E-Step off and then control your regen with the paddles. At the second level, the brake lights don't come on. At the third level and fourth level, they do. So you can see here, no regen, level 1, level 2, brake lights come on, level 3, and then E-Step is actually even more regen than level 3. We'll let it come down to speed here. Haven't touched the brake pedal, haven't touched the brake pedal, touching the brake pedal. This does have the brake hold function though, so you can let your foot off the brake if you're at a traffic light. It would be nice to have one pedal driving as an option, or at least a setting in this Nissan Leaf. I understand that Nissan wants to make this a bit more approachable to first-time EV buyers, but at least having that option, I think, makes this a bit more of a seamless EV driving experience. But you could also argue that it makes it a more familiar experience not having that. I've mostly just been driving this around, honestly, in the level 1 regen the way it defaults, and I've been perfectly happy with the dynamics of it all and how it all works. Let's park here for a second. And I want to listen to this Bose sound system, see what that sounds like. All right, so we're actually going to go into Spotify, search for our test track. There we go. And we'll just play this. Cool. Nice wide angle reverse camera too. You can see a really nice wide view Very helpful for when you're backing out of your driveway, you've got some blockages. There is a physical volume knob right dead center, as well as track selection buttons right next to it. Good to see that. Bose sounds pretty good for a vehicle in this class. You even get headrest speakers here. Nice. I'm impressed. ProPILOT Assist is doing a good job on a back road, navigating us through this little section. Let's go back into sport mode and take a couple quick corners here. Not too shabby, not too shabby. We gotta stop and see what type of tires are on this. Again, these are the 19s, so you're gonna see a bit of an efficiency hit here. We'll go here so we're not getting into a gravel lot. But they do look kind of cool. The 18s will be more efficient rolling down the road. Manufacturers always do this. It's kind of strange. They give the higher trims bigger wheels, which reduce efficiency and lower your overall range in the name of better options, premiumness. But the lower trims get better range because they have smaller wheels and also less feature content, less weight, stuff like that. But ultimately, I think most EV buyers are probably only driving about 40, 50, 60 miles a day, not a ton. And you don't really need all that 300 miles of range. All right, these are 235 45 R19s. So actually a little bit wider than I thought. Visually, they just look a little bit skinny, and that's probably in the name of efficiency. One of my favorite things about a lot of Nissan vehicles over the last decade has been they're just so easy to get into and drive and use and operate. They're very intuitively designed. And I'm getting the same experience here with this new Nissan Leaf. So many vehicles we drive and get into these days and test. There's a steep learning curve. You need to spend 20 minutes in a parking lot, stationary, learning how to operate the UI, the screen, the software, get your settings all figured out. And this, I just hopped in this thing, changed a couple settings around, and we were good to go. I instantly feel familiar with the operation of this vehicle. Whether I want to change my climate, turn on my heated seats, heated steering wheel, ProPILOT Assist settings, it's all, everything that I would be using on a regular basis feels easy to operate. I don't feel like I'm distracted by doing basic functions in this new Nissan Leaf. If you take your hands off the wheel, ProPILOT Assist will give you about maybe 10 seconds or 5 seconds before it prompts you, and then all you have to do is just rest your hand back on the steering wheel, and it's in business. And you can just roll like this for miles. This is our closest following distance right now. If we set that to our third setting, our farthest distance, it'll look something like this. I'll wait for us to back off a little bit. Seems about right. I've got to say, guys, for the money, I don't really have any complaints about this new Nissan Leaf. I think it looks good. I like that they focused on efficiency, aerodynamics with this new generation. The first generation Leaf was cool. It was actually the first EV I ever drove, and I was like, this isn't just a glorified golf cart. It's actually a nice vehicle to live with. It's kind of a cool looking hatchback. It's got good space, nice packaging. And the second generation Leaf seemed just like a normal hatchback vehicle that happened to be an EV. This feels more purposeful, more honest in its intentions, and I think overall it's a really nice product in this EV space. Pricing is very attractive. It's easy to use. It's nice to look at. It's nice to drive. I'm sure some buyers out there will want a dual motor, all-wheel drive Nissan Leaf, but again, that's just going to add cost. They may introduce that at some point. Now that this is a ground-up EV platform, they probably have maybe they might do that. Who knows? We'll see. I would love a quad-motor Nismo Leaf R that can do four-wheel drifts everywhere, but that's probably not going to happen. Still, with a good set of tires, front-wheel drive, you should be just fine in inclement weather. Again, all your weight in an EV is centered and low. That center of mass is very, very low in an EV. And that helps a lot with winter traction on a good set of tires. So, haven't driven this in the snow. I've just driven this today, actually. So I can't really comment on winter traction with this standard setup. But honestly, you don't always need all-wheel drive in your small crossover / EV. I think I remember when Charlie had his rear-wheel drive Tesla Model Y, it performed awesome in the snow on the standard tires, just because of that weight distribution. It was so even and it was so low. All right, we're going to cancel our cruise control. Exit here off the highway. Just letting off the throttle. It's coming down from speed very nicely, very smoothly. Nissan has gone and fixed some of my biggest complaints with the previous generation Leaf. And I think they've done a nice job with this new ground-up platform. We have multi-link rear suspension. I think that's taken from the Nissan Ariya. The platform is shared in some ways with the Nissan Ariya. And again, this whole drive, we've only burned about 7% battery. Range has gone down to still what's above the EPA rating for this car. This is rated at 259 miles. At 88%, we're seeing 260 miles. If I turn off climate control, that goes up to 265. I like that ProPILOT Assist will sense the speed limit that you're on whatever road you're on. So, for example, we were just on the highway, I had my speed set to 75. I just pressed down to set to new speed limit, and it resumed at 55. I didn't have to manually change that. And we've been in sport mode this whole time. Throttle response isn't ridiculous. It's a perfectly usable drive mode. Nissan is also offering a single trim with a 52 kilowatt hour battery pack at some point in the future. I don't know exactly when. We don't have a ton of details or information on that. Nice SSR there. But that should be less expensive than the base S Plus trim. Going from 75 kilowatt hours to 52 kilowatt hours will reduce range, but it will also reduce weight and costs. So that might be a nice budget option for those who just don't need a ton of range. If you're only driving 40, 20, 50 miles a day, you don't need close to 300 miles of range in your EV. And if you want to save some money, that could be a nice little package. But as it sits, the 75 kilowatt hour battery pack is the standard battery pack for all the new Nissan Leafs. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up our thoughts right here. You've heard it all in this video. Impressed with the new Nissan Leaf. I think they've done a really nice job with this redesign. that's going to be it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we can get into an S Plus or SV trim at some point, see some of the other trim features. This Platinum Plus has pretty much everything, but definitely some things you could do without if you wanted to save some money and get in for that under $30,000 MSRP and have a little bit more range to work with as well. Still has been cool to show you all the features of this Premium Plus today, including that roof. I guess we have to turn the car on to operate that. Really can't tell the difference on today's drive. We'll get you another Leaf video with some sunlight someday. Here's your key. Regular looking key. Very nice. Not overwhelming, not bulky. Feels high quality. Nice plastic that's not going to get all scratched up. Oh yeah, and then let's show you the door going flush when it locks. There it goes. All right, it's completely flush now. When you walk up to it, it'll automatically unlock. Nice. Just little things that help improve aerodynamics. Completely flat bottom, flat floor with this Nissan Leaf. Nissan insists on calling this a crossover, but to me this is just kind of a, I guess it's a smallish crossover, larger hatchback. The rear end with the tailgate up looks very Model Y to me. But the lights, I think, give it enough of its own design language that it doesn't seem too close. And honestly, when you're tuning a vehicle and optimizing the aerodynamic efficiency, you all kind of arrive at the same point in terms of vehicle shape. The Prius, the Model Y, they all kind of have this similar swooped back fishtail-like look. And that's going to help a lot with the drag coefficient. Completely flat floor in the back too, and kind of in the front. I think if a vehicle this size works for your lifestyle, your use case, this is a really nice overall package. If you want something a little bit larger, the Nissan Ariya is also great too, but this just feels like such a nice, complete, comprehensive, cohesive new EV from Nissan. They were one of the first to market, and they've done a really nice job here. So well done, Nissan. I think also, I think the base S Plus is the least expensive EV in terms of MSRP on the market. So under $30,000. Destination that doesn't include destination of $1495. A little tidbit there. All right, that's it for me. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. A little bit of torque steer there, getting up to 60 miles an hour. Very nice. Let's show you guys what navigation looks like here. So we're going to go back to the Nissan Technical Center. Hit start.
Continue on Ann Arbor Road for 1.5 miles.
Right now we're at 86% state of charge. When we arrive, it says we're going to be 79%
road closures in 10 miles.
of charge before it disappeared. Hold on.
By 11:17 a.m.
77% of charge. All right, so 22 miles, 24 minutes of driving, 77% state of charge at arrival. Very nice. And then also on the head-up display, it shows us our directions in a very cool manner. And you can customize what you show on the head-up display. There's a bunch of check boxes in this menu. Let's engage Pilot Assist here so that we can steer on our own. Put us up to our new speed limit. So we've got a bunch of different settings here. So head-up display, content selection, look at this, navigation, driving assist, speed limit sign, audio, and phone. Very cool.
In a quarter mile, merge onto Michigan 14 East.